Hello, everyone. In today's lecture, I'll explain how to write a winning resume. You are perhaps on the threshold of a promising career, or looking to enhance your present career, or a student applying to universities for pursuing higher education. Either ways, you need to write your resume or curriculum vitae and a covering letter. So, learning about the necessary steps in the job application process will help you become a successful job seeker. Career planning begins with a clear understanding of your professional interests and skills for the job market as well as the current jobs in demand. Let me explain you the job search process and also will help you understand the job application process. Are you just entering the job market? Do you want to learn the necessary skills to help you find and apply for a job? I will focus on the different steps of the job application process. Let's begin with entering the job market and then move on to writing a resume. And then I will focus on the cover letter in my next video separately. So, welcome and let's get started. Entering the job market is the first step involved in the job application process. Here, we will be reviewing how people begin looking for a job. The content goals will help you identify your skills and interests and read job advertisements. The second important thing to be focused is resume. What is a resume? How long should it be? One page, two pages? What should it include? And what's the difference between a resume and a curriculum vitae? Resumes will tell you about the application process. This is just a written summary of your job experience, education, and skills. Then, covering letter is a formal letter writing in the job application process, which I will explain to you in a separate video. Now, let us understand or let us talk about the job search process and what are the steps that are involved in the job process. Let me introduce to you one by one. Workers around the world probably they change their jobs often. So each time when they change the job, they have to take part in the process known as the job search. Searching for a job is part of career development. And it's very important to remember that searching for a job is part of a process which takes time and requires several steps. So, the first one is identifying the skills and the areas of interest. When looking for a job, you should ask yourself, what am I good at? What do I like to do? What have I studied? Your answers to these questions will help you to create a clear professional profile. The second one, that is what I have mentioned, creating a professional profile. Here you have to write information about your education, your past work experience, or whatever the experiences that you had volunteered or any special training that you had undertaken. Even here, you can include the list of hobbies or interests that tell more about you as a person. After reflecting on skill and creating a profile, it's time to start looking for a job. There are many places to search for jobs online, in newspapers, or even in person. The third point is you have to read and understand the advertisement or the job description. Decide if their skills match the job description. The next one is the job seekers moves into the application part of the process. In this part of the process, job seekers send their information to the employer to apply for a job. A person will send a resume and cover letter to formally apply for a job. So I'll explain what a resume is and the difference between a CV and a resume. I'll explain you later. Then using the networking events. In addition to all these things, job seekers talk to many people about their skills and experience in conversations. Networking is focused on meeting people and building relationships in person. Whether it is through a cover letter or a short conversation, job seekers are trying to get an interview for a job. That is the last point I had mentioned here. Job interview is the best chance for the candidate to show their interest in the job and demonstrate to employers how they are qualified for the job. Formal interviews are often in person but can sometimes be done by telephone or video. In all these interviews, the job seekers need to be able to ask and answer questions briefly and clearly. This about the how to answer in the interview, how to prepare yourself for the job interview. I have already created one lecture video. You can just go to my link and find out. Now let us understand the difference between biodata, resume, and curriculum vitae. The term biodata is a form of biographical data wherein the focus is on your personal particulars like date of birth, gender, religion, race, nationality, residence, marital status, and so on. Everything followed by the chronological listing of your education and experience. In the past, it was used when people applied for government jobs or for research grants. It has become outdated now. The biodata is not common in the international market where personal information like your age, gender, religion, etc. may not be significant. Then, resume. This is a French word meaning summary. That is talking about the gist of your education, skills, and employment when applying for a new job. A resume does not list out all the details of your profile, but only some specific skills pertaining to the target job. It is a one-page objective account, usually written in the third person to give it a formal look. A resume should start with a brief profile, a gist of your qualifications, followed by your industry experience if you have any, and then the professional experience if you have anything to mention here in the reverse chronological order. I'll talk to you while I explain how to prepare your resume. So the previous experience are presented only as a summary. A resume would be ideal because certain specific skills for the job required are more important than education. Then what is curriculum vitae? This is a Latin word which suggests life in a sequential order. Here, you should highlight your talents, your potential skills, jobs, the positions that you held, degrees, and all your technical experience in a chronological order. Some countries they prefer CV while others the resume. So while writing your CV or resume, it is possible for you to make your own modifications to the existing form. For fresh graduates looking for a career and for applying for academic positions, you may not be having so much of experiences. So you can write a resume which carries a one page or two-page information, can be given in a less detailed manner. But however, being a student, you are supposed to prepare both a one-page resume and a CV in detail when applying for a job. Now, what is a resume? It is a written document of one's employment, education, and skills. Resumes are usually one or two pages long. It gives you a short description. Though it is short, a detailed description of your past job duties and experiences. The cover letter should be enclosed along with the resume or CV, whatever it is, where it is a formal letter which you will address to the employer to introduce the job seeker by showing your qualifications and ask for an interview. Now, let us talk about why do you need a resume? This is very important. Why do you need a resume? Whenever we do something, we should know the purpose of doing it. So why do we need a resume? Nowadays, the olden thumb rule of a resume should only be a one pager, does not hold good. If you have more relevant matter to convey, you can cover it in two pages. As a freshman with no experience, how does one prepare a resume? The reason for preparing the resume. So you need to understand the skills that interests you. You have to make a list of the skills that interests you. Let us talk about the types of skills, the things you do, things you know, the ways that you act, everything in detail. Knowing your interests and skills help you to choose your career that is best for you. So, better it is to understand the intention of getting the job. You need to prove that whether you are a good match for the job. The way you communicate, how you mention your strongest skills and accomplishments to your future employer is very important. That alone will take you for an interview. Now, the parts of a resume, or even we can call it as the overview of a resume. The first one in your is your name and contact details. See, if I talk about this, for example, If I talk about the name and the contact details, in the next slide, I have given an example of how to write each and every part of your resume. Since it is a written document, we need to be very careful on various aspects. A lot of competition in the job market. At the same time, job seekers need to create a resume that really shows their qualifications to an employer. A good resume is really important for some reasons. It takes the attention of the employers, which I explained earlier. Because employers will read many resumes from many different applicants. You need to make sure that your resume clearly stands out to get the attention of the employer. If the company is looking for someone with 5 years of experience, then you should have 5 years or more number of years of experience in that specific criteria. Then you can say clearly that into your resume. Then the second reason is the great resume communicates, highlights the skills that employers often look for, such as your technological skills and communication skills. So you need to include the professional accomplishments or activities, or whatever that you have gained throughout your learning process. Some reasons, that is the purpose. We are going to stick with a one-page version. Make your resume easy to read. So put yourself in the shoes of a possible employer who might read lots of resumes each day. Don't give your employer any excuse to ignore your resume or throw it into the trash. Now, the first one is your name and contact details. The next part of your resume is the headline or objective and summary. The third part is you need to include your work experience if you have any, as I mentioned earlier. And the final part is you need to include your education. Now, there are certain basic formats in the resume. Before you start writing it, we need to be very clear with the format. Different resume types highlight different types of experience. So before you start writing, think about what format you want to use and choose the one that shows your skills in the best way. There are two basic resume formats. One is chronological, the other is functional. Chronological resumes highlight your job history. They list your past experiences. And functional resumes focus less on experience and more on skills. A chronological format works best if you have a strong work history. Please understand this. It is a good format when you are looking for a new job in the same field. It shows how your past experience will help with a new job. A functional format shows what you are able to do, and this format helps you to show skills that are not part of your work history. It is the best format to use if you are changing your career. Please understand here this point also. If you are changing your career, you can go with the functional one. The best resumes are usually a mix of both the formats. They give employers lot of important information about your work history, and they also show your strongest skills. So Job seekers, very important, they should follow the standard format to make a professional impression from the beginning of the resume. To begin, your resume needs to clearly show your full name. Just read the information that I have given here very clearly. This means that you write your given name first, followed by your family name. If you have a middle name, you can write it out completely or just use the first letter. Most people include their first name, middle initial, and family name only. Often, job seekers will make their name a larger size or font than the rest of the words. This helps the employer or the reader to find the name very quickly. It is common to put the name in the center at the top of the page. Another way to make the name stand out is to write it in the bold letters, which are darker than the other letters. And the next part is the contact information, which means their current postal address, email address, and telephone number. If an employer wants to contact you to ask you to come for an interview, here is where they will find your full name and information about how they can communicate with you, like your email address or telephone number. See how I have mentioned everything very clearly. The postal address is your official location where an employer can send you the information. You should provide the house number, street name, city, state or province, country, whatever you have, your postal code or number. Everything must be included very clearly. Your email address should be professional and contain your full name or at least a part of your name. I have given two examples. What should be done and what should not be done. Please go through both the ways of creating the email. I have given how it should be done. Your name must be there. At least a part of your name must be there. And then when you give your contact number, if you have both the landline, that is telephone number as well the mobile number, it's always better to give more than one number so that easily they can approach you, either of any one of the numbers. Hope you understand the beginning, how things have to be mentioned very clearly. So the next one is the objective, or even we can call it as summary or headline. This section is where you should write the job you are looking for. Then you can include a summary of the skills you have. If we look at the sample, nowadays there are so many sample resumes given online. So you can go through any format, any latest version, any latest format that are wanted in the industry. You can give a short summary of your work experience, your key skills. So these things can be included. It is often the job title which you want. That is what in brief an objective or a summary means. It should be very short and specific. Avoid making it too general. When you write your objective or summary, again you refer back to the job advertisement and search for some of the required keywords that can be included while writing the summary or the objective. Declaration of your career goals. interest in the job you are seeking. They are the primary things to be listed out. You can list your strengths and experience, making you a better candidate. Then your work experience. So when you highlight your work experience, if you are a fresher, you might not be having any work experience. In that case, you can highlight your academic scores, your industrial training. That also forms a part of your curriculum, right? Here you can mention the duration, the areas you worked in, the skills you learned through the training. Even you can mention your extracurricular activities, whether you are good at computer or internet savvy, web design or coding. Then the participation at the intercollegiate, state, national seminars, debates, how you have improved your technical as well as the communication skills. That you can mention in, as a work experience. If you are a part of NCC, NGO, if you have visited any of the villages and worked for the people, you can highlight whichever area applies to you, but in all honesty. That's very important. If you actually have a work experience, then mention your work experience first and later your educational qualifications. Remember, your resume is a mere attractive. It's something like a window dressing to kindle interest in your prospective employer. Or if you are opting for a higher education, the university which you are going to apply for. It must prove that you are something that wanting to take it to the next level. So we need to be very careful when we mention the informations. Honesty is very important. Then here when you mention your work experience, it should be mentioned in the reverse chronological order. When I mean it, you have to list your most recent job first, the one before that next, and so on into the past. Then the next part of your resume is you need to include your education. This should also be given in the reverse chronological date order. You have to include your college degrees, your schooling, higher secondary, high school, which year you received your graduation, everything in detail, okay? The board or the university year of passing, the percentage of marks obtained, everything can be listed out in the reverse chronological order. The recent as the first. If you are a BTech graduate, that must be first. Then your higher secondary, then the third should be your 10th. Tabular column is not required. That is not a compulsion. So you should begin with your most recent degree first and then one before that after. You can also mention briefly about some of your interests or the hobbies, whichever that you had practiced during your learning process. So now we are coming to the final part of our completion of our resume. There are still some things you will need to do to make your resume the best resume you can write. The way how you present it matters everything. In other words, how your resume should look for others. Is it easy to read? Does it look good? Does it follow the standard resume rules? These are all very, very important. And reference, it's it can be given upon request. It's not compulsory to be mentioned in the resume. You can give the names and address of 3 persons who can comment on your potential. Provide the names of those 3 referees who know about you very well and your educational or professional competence. For example, if you have a previous experience, you can give the name of any of your previous employer, your professors, your teachers, your supervisors, and research guide. They should be ready to give you letters of reference in their official capacity with a designation, full contact address, telephone number, fax if they have, an email address, etc. So all these things are very much important. Remember to sign at the end, bottom left corner with a date. So the some of the examples of standard formatting: use a standard font, that's the Times New Roman. Bulleted points, give information using bullet points. Using lots of white space to make the resume easier to read. Don't give all the information in a chaosed way. Using bold texts and indents to give more importance to the information. Show relationship between the information. So this is another very, very important thing to be noted down. Proofreading and editing your resume. This means reading back over your resume after you have written it and making sure it does not have any mistakes. When an employer reads your resume, you want to be sure you make a great first impression. You can achieve this not only by having the skills, qualifications, and experience, but also making sure your resume looks professionally written and it is easy to read. As we have said, you don't want to give an employer an excuse to throw your resume in the recycling can. I told you in the beginning itself, employers probably they read many other resumes before getting to yours. So if you do not follow what is called standard formatting, it will not make a good first impression. As what the standard formatting, I have given everything in detail, what to be done, how it should be done, what not to be done in all my slides. You should read the resume looking for mistakes in grammar, spelling, punctuation, capitalization. If you are unsure of the rules for each of these things, ask someone who is an expert or read a reliable book or a website that which can explain the rules correctly. That will help you to make any necessary changes so that your resume is free of any mistakes. What to avoid? Sometimes we find with the young generation switching jobs too often in short intervals. This will impact negatively on your prospects of grabbing a job. Try to be sustainable with a job. that you have taken for at least for a period of time, maybe 2 years, 3 years, before you find for another job. Sustainability is very much important. So if you have just graduated and don't have a lot of work experience, you probably want to emphasize your education and qualifications and not your work experience. So the format which I have explained in my lecture is for the freshers, to help the freshers. For the moment, I think you have learned through this video the importance of good presentation, proofreading, and editing your finished resume, and also the basic differences between the functional and chronological resumes. Be sure to carefully and thoroughly research the job you are applying to and try to remember all the things that we had discussed in this lecture will be of very helpful for you to prepare a successful resume. Good luck. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. If you like the lecture, do comment, share, and subscribe my YouTube channel so that you will get notifications immediately whenever I upload lectures in it. Thank you.